After years of remote learning because of COVID, how is this concrete crisis impacting on pupils and indeed their mental health?
Well, Patrick Regan's the founder of Kintsugi Hope. I hope I got that right, the mental health charity. A very good morning to you, Patrick. Look, this has got to be stressful, not only for parents and teachers, but for the kids who are old enough to understand what's going on.
Yeah, 100%, and obviously, I've heard lots of conversations about the economic implications, but what about the human implications? I think that is huge. And, our young people, having been through COVID, and I've even heard people say, oh no, is this COVID rerun? The pressure on their mental and emotional health. And we forget that school isn't just about academic achievement. It's about finding a sense of belonging, finding friends, teamwork. Just imagine if you're in year 7 at the moment, transitioning into secondary school and not quite knowing, I'm going to meet my friends on Zoom, who's my teacher going to be? And so I think we really need to try and support these young people in their mental and emotional health as much as we can.
And also, Patrick, not only that, their economic situations as well. I work for a charity which studies basically tech poverty. And that's a real thing. People can't afford Wi-Fi. They can't afford these laptops and handheld devices and all sorts of things. And so not everybody's equal in this. Not remotely are they equal in this. 100%.
Yeah, it's a great point, Eamon, because I think that this always hits the poorest and also hits those with additional needs as well. I've got kids with additional needs and it always hits them the hardest. I've been involved in youth work for about 30 years and you see, people struggling at home sometimes. Sometimes home is not a safe place. It's a traumatic place for people, and Wi-Fi is dodgy. Parents can't take time off work for some of them. Remember that schools provide breakfast clubs and after school clubs. And so you're 100% right. It's the poorest and those with additional needs the hardest. And that's what we need to think about.
When I think of my upbringing, I think of, the modern phrase, but I do think there was a sort of resilience that was inbuilt in all of us. Certainly Eamon's upbringing, when you think of the troubles and all of that impact on your schooling, bombs going off on the way to school and the like. There will be people watching and listening to this saying, we're mollycoddling our kids and they need to be more resilient in the way that we were when we were growing up.
But if you haven't got money, you haven't got money.
But just to explain how serious this mental health crisis is that we're all experiencing in young people, we're seeing record numbers of people self-harming, eating disorders, whether that's social media, whatever, our youngsters aren't happy, they aren't well, a lot of them.
No, I think it's 100% right. And I think we need to provide support. The stats that come out, 52% of 17 to 23-year-olds have been struggling with their mental health. And that's huge, and we hear a lot of stats on telly, but, every stat is a person, is an individual, is a family that's going through. And I feel like we've got to support those that are working in the grassroots, the voluntary sector, the faith sector, those that are living it out. And I know for myself, we run a charity called Kintsugi Hope, which is a Japanese word that means golden joinery, which means if you break something, we tend to mend it with super glue. We hide the cracks, we pretend it's not broken. But what they do in Japan is they put a gold powder in the glue. So instead of hiding the cracks, they make a feature of the cracks. So arguably, beauty comes out of brokenness. And I think there's a message there, metaphor for life, saying beauty can come out of brokenness. And I think we need to support our kids. They need not just our compassion, they need alternatives. And that's what with government need to grapple with at the moment.
And they need routine and security. And Isabel mentioned my schooling in Belfast. And it wasn't only just about the academic side of things. It was about the sense of security that school gave me and the sense of belonging. And we had a very long driveway and there were big gates at the bottom of it. And the gates would be locked and basically you weren't allowed out of school because it was too dangerous. Just all around, there were riots, there were fights, there were everything. And what St Malachy's College in Belfast offered me was sanctuary, an oasis, and we could continue a life that was detached from the reality that was going on outside. And that's the thing. Friendships were formed. It just was safety. It just felt so good. And often I would leave school and feel unsafe. And so I think we can't underestimate for young people a sense of belonging, a sense of routine, a sense of normalness by going to school.
Yeah, and if you struggle with anxiety, routine is actually really, really important. And that sense of belonging, because I think belonging and fitting in are two very different things. And that's where you get those skills, those interaction skills, don't you, at your local school? You know, and I've done quite a lot of work in Belfast, and I've seen the effort that they've been to actually to create that sense of belonging in some of the schools there. And I think it's absolutely vital, you know, and these young people, they've been through so much. I mean, just think about it. You know, for a couple of years of their life, they had a death counter on their TV screens every single day.
Yeah.
If that's not anxiety inducing. You know, we've had the death of George.
Patrick, I hope Patrick comes in and talks to us in studio here much longer next time about what he was highlighting there. He's the founder of a charity, which is a mental health charity for kids, and we were just talking about how, again, being told you're not going to school, things are not going to be normal. That's all right for 2 or 3 days. You think, oh, a couple of days off school this week or whatever. But working from home, I don't think I would flourish with home education.
Oh, it was the hardest thing I've ever done during lockdown with my children, and I adore children, but trying to work and balance the demands of children at the same time, really, really, really tough and hard on the kids.